welcome to New It Too. I'm filling in for Jan this week on this side of the camera because we let her take vacation. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk to you about decorative threads. Now that we've got our beautiful new applaud, if you want to pan over to it if you can't already see it, I feel like we just need to kind of talk about all the amazing things we can do with some of our decorative threads, not just the applaud, but a lot of machines around the store. So Sarah's filming for me today, so I'll be referring to her. She says hi. So if you can come closer, the first thing I want to do is just talk to you guys about just some of the different decorative threads that we have. So we carry a Wonderfil brand called Wonderfil. Do you get it? And they have a wide variety of decorative threads. So we're just going to kind of go over them here, and then I wanted to show you guys some of the different techniques that you can do with these threads. So the first one is soft lock. So if you want to zoom in a little closer, this is going to be kind of a woolly poly thread for serger hems as well as other things. They have all these amazing colors in it. And this is going to be kind of a matte, soft thread. They have Accent, which is a wonderful 12-ply rayon that comes in both solids and some incredible variegateds. You can see here the samples of some of what they've done. So we love those. They have a shiny finish. We have Spaghetti. This is going to be a 12-weight cotton thread. So different, you know, especially if you're an art quilter, if you want it to be able to take dyes, things like that, you would want to lean towards these threads. These are going to be some beautiful solids. They have more of a matte finish. I'm going to scooch this way. If you want the look of metallic, but not the headache of metallic, they have Glamour thread, which in all caps just looks like the word glamour, but that's okay. And so what we have is going to be, they're solid threads, but then they have this metallic glittery finish in them. And some of those are going to be the same kind of color as the thread. And then some are going to be kind of a rainbow effect. Like we've got this silver with a rainbow metallic in it. We have this beautiful, they're calling it molasses color that has a blue glittery in it. So we love that. We have our fruity threads, which are going to be a 12-ply cotton. Oh, and this one is rayon. A 12-ply, these are going to be our variegateds that are going to be that same kind of matte finish like the spaghetti thread. We love these as well. We have Eleganza, 1L. And these are going to be 8-weight cotton. And so these are going to be our extra thick guys here. That's going to be these balls right here. We have loved playing with these already on our applaud. And they are going to be all these beautiful matte solids. And then last but not least, we have what I think is actually a really clever thread, D-Twist. It's going to be a 20-weight rayon, and rather than being a traditional variegated, what it is just two colors like alternating. And so what you're going to get is actually this really cool striping effect as opposed to the more traditional, like I say, the more traditional variegateds. And so that has a really good way of making things look like they were more complicated than they were, which we always love. And so this is also going to have that shiny finish. And this is a little bit thinner. This is that 20 weight. So this is great for top stitching and other things. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to some of our different machines and explore some of the techniques we can do with these and the tools that we do them with. All right, so for the first one, of course I mentioned we're excited about the applaud. So we're just going to show you as a reminder some of the cool things with the applaud wipers. So if you can come on closer.
Let's get closer.
Of course there's very little limit to what thread I can put in this as far as things that are too thick for really any of our other tools and accessories. But what I have on here is my Glamour thread with that kind of gold metallic in there on the left looper, or wiper, sorry. And then I've got my spaghetti thread here on the right wiper with that beautiful kind of plum dark color. So we've already got it loaded into our wipers because we really just want you guys to see how cool it looks whenever you use it. We have this beautiful gold tone fabric as well. And I'm just going to shorten my stitch length to really make the thread the star of this stitch. So I've got my presser foot lowered, my speed to half. That way I don't overtax my thick threads. They like to be divas sometimes, so we have to kind of meet them on their own turf. Oh, and I'm gonna fix that. See, this is what I'm talking about. You can't let them out of your sight. Okay, we'll get that the way it should be. There we go, perfect. Okay, and so we're just gonna start to run our stitch. You can see my wipers running back and forth. I've got a nice short stitch on my single needle here. And then, oh, sorry, we'll chain off. Go back to my 4 stitch length to make that chaining easier to do. And then it's okay, I meant the, and then I have this great decorative kind of almost like a pin tuck look just out of my thread. So what I'm gonna do real quick is I'm gonna add some more needles to this machine so that you guys can see even more what these threads can do. Okay, so I've added my other 2 needles here, and the nice thing was I didn't have to unthread anything. I just added the 2 needles in. So come on in here and we'll see the difference just adding a couple needles but not really changing our wipers can do for our stitch here. I'm going to shorten that stitch again to get a lot of thread coverage on my fabric. And then when we get to the end, for ease of chaining off, I'm going back to 4. I forgot to wear my scissors, so I'm just using my little blade on the side here. And so there's that beautiful stitch, and it's the exact same wiper system as on that thinner one, but a totally different look. So we've got a lot of flexibility with our decorative threads on the applied. So the next thing I want to show you is, of course, a lovely reminder of, on a standard overlock, what we can do with our thick threads. Okay, so next we're at our Triumph Serger, which is a combination cover stitch and overlock machine. Of course, it does not have the wipers that the applaud does, but that doesn't mean we can't play with our decorative threads. So we're just going to do a rolled hem here for you guys, but really what I wanted to show you was on some of the decorative threads, the air jet that pulls my thread through the looper tubes is not always strong enough to pull some of those extra thick threads. And so what you get with your machine, and I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but it is a wire looper threader. I'm holding it, I promise. You have to take my word for it. And what it is a diamond-shaped opening on the end of a very long wire. It's about 18 inches long. And so if you want to come in closer, what we're going to do, now I'm using a 12-weight thread, which usually will thread through just fine, but just to kind of illustrate for you guys how we use this, you really have to do this on your soft locks, any of those kind of woolly threads. What you're going to do is with your threading engaged on your serger and your tubes closed, you're going to take the regular end, I really don't know if you can see it, but not the end with an opening for the thread, just the end of the wire. And you're going to poke it into whichever looper you are trying to thread. Okay, now here's the deal. This is a thin wire. It's a 2-ply twisted wire. And if you really try to cram it, you're just going to bend that wire and then it's not going to work anymore. So there's a little bit of a gentle touch to this. So I'm just going to poke it in here and I'm just going to start to send it through. And if you think about our looper, it's got several joins at different places where it's coming together. So as I push this through, I'm going to find points where I feel a little bit of resistance. What you don't want to do is just cram it with all your might at that point. It's like hitting keys harder on a modern keyboard. It doesn't make them work better. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go back and forth until I feel it pass that point of resistance where those joins come together. It might just be hitting the little lip of the tube. So once I've got it through, I'll see it come out of the end of my looper, in this case the upper looper, and I still have an end I can grab on this end with that diamond shaped opening. So what I'll do at that point, it's why the wire's so long, is I'll take my thread and I'll thread it through that little diamond, just like a standard, needle threader tool, like the ones with the little coin end on them. And I'm just gonna pull it through and my thread will just come out the other side. And that way I can thread things that might otherwise not be able to be used by my air threader. So there's no actual limitation just because the jet of air might not be strong enough, or with the woolly threads like the soft lock, the air literally just passes across the thread. It just goes right through it. It's like made of air. So I'm gonna set my loop looper threader aside. And then I've already got my right hand needle in, and I've already got my lower looper in because it was just my regular thread. So what I'm gonna do is I go back to serging, close everything up. I've already set my tensions to B, which on this particular machine is the tension for a rolled hem. And what I'm gonna do is on my length knob right here, Sarah's making a face. I'm just gonna go from my standard side to my rolled side. And I wanna show you guys what that does here. If you look, and I don't know if you can get in close, Sarah, what I want you to look at is the third stitch finger, which is right there. Can you see that? So when I go to rolled hem, that third stitch finger drops away. On lesser models of machines in the past, you had to completely either replace the entire needle plate or manually remove that third stitch finger. But on ours, it just drops out of the way so that the fabric will fold under now instead of staying flat like it would on a standard stitch. So now I'm ready for a rolled hem. So I'm just going to take the edge of my fabric that we were using earlier for my applied stitching, and we're just going to pop a quick rolled hem on it just so you guys can see how great our stitch is here. And so now we've got that great thick green thread on the end of our seam here. And we have a beautiful thick look with that stitch, which I love. So next we're going to show you some sewing machine techniques. Okay, so now we're over at the Baby Lock Soprano Wonderful machine, and we're going to look at the cording foot. So there's a few different versions of cording feet. This one has 5 holes in it for up to 5 strands of your decorative cord. I'm just going to do 3 because you don't have to use all 5, and I wanted to use 3. There is a 3 cording foot, but since this one is holes and not grooves, I actually do like this one a little bit better. So if you can come closer, I'll show you the foot and how we load it up. So on the foot, I'll place it there for you. You've got your 5 holes along the front right there, right before the opening for the needle, but right after the toe of the foot. And so what I'm gonna do here, and I'm gonna try to be as gentle as possible for the shakiness of a camera, is I've got these 3 threads here. I'll let you zoom out just so you can see them. Just some nice greens, some of our Wonderfil threads. And a lot of these are actually that 8 weight, so extra thick. And I have just cut lengths of 3 of them. You can just let them spool off of your different cones, but just as easy to cut some lengths of them. And all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lick the end of my thread a little bit, and I'm just gonna poke it through the hole that I wanted to go through. In this case, the top right hand hole. And then I'm gonna take my next thread. I like to lick the end on these because they are thick. They do like to kind of get a little ravelly. If you need to use like a wire looper threader type of thing like we did on the serger, then that'll work fine too. I got one last thread here. And I'm gonna just poke it through that last hole. And then I don't want to waste a bunch of thread, so some of this thread to the back I'm just gonna pull back through. But you don't want so little that it'll come back out. So I'm going to come over here to my snap-on foot. I'm going to try not to block your view. I'm not going to do a very good job with it, but I'm going to try. Okay, and we're going to snap that foot on. I'm going to raise my presser foot back up so that I can make sure those threads go right behind my foot. Okay, and then I'm going to take my fabric and we are going to place it under. I want to start on fabric for something like this. And then I just need to select a stitch that I know will cross over all 3 threads. For this, I've just selected my triple zigzag. If you come over here to the screen, you'll see it's stitch 0 on my little 10 key down here. Of course, you can get to it other ways, but it'll show me right here that that's what it is on. So what that means is it's going to actually do a needle strike and a little stitch over each thread. So that's a nice, secure, simple way to do it. But any decorative stitch that covers the entire span of the threads will hold it down if you want to do something maybe a little more interesting than just a zigzag. But for this, we'll show you guys how it looks with that zigzag. So I'm gently holding the thread up just so that it doesn't tangle on itself, but those holes in the foot are going to do all the rest of the work for me of guiding the threads into place. And as I get to the end here, I'm just going to trim my decorative threads like that. Of course, it depends on what you're doing, if you need to trim it or not. Go the rest of the way off, and then I'll just cut my thread there, and we've got really nice kind of a custom trim. Yeah, so I super love the cording foot. I think it's a great way to add a lot of interest to a piece, and there's so many combinations of decorative thread that there's just a ton you can do with this. Imagine this with like a little flower stitch over it instead of a zigzag. There's a lot you can do with this. So the last thing I want to show you is actually just using it in the needle with a top stitch needle. So give me just a moment to get that set up. Okay, so the last technique we're going to do is just putting the decorative thread just directly in the needle. So what I have done is I have gone ahead and I have swapped out my standard needle for a top stitch needle. The reason you want to use a top stitch needle, and I've got one here for you to get closer to, is for that huge eye on that needle and the thicker gauge of the needle. So I can actually show you here as well. If you go there, that eye of that needle is going to be so much bigger than what you're going to have on most other needles that it can accommodate. If you see here, it actually even says to use 12 weight threads with this, which is what we've got here. So we've placed one of these top stitch needles on, and what we've done is we've also put a 12 weight glamour thread on it. And I'm actually going to go ahead and do that same triple zigzag stitch, because imagine, if you will, decorative threads in your cording foot and a decorative thread on your needle. Another nice thing to note, the threader works on my heavy threads. With a super fine point needle, that threader cannot always work because the wire that pulls the thread through is smaller than the eye of the needle, but on our top stitch needles, they work just fine, since it's actually the opposite, right? Getting larger. So I'm just gonna put my thread kind of behind my presser foot right there, just for the cleanest possible tail. Put my fabric under there, and then we're just gonna run our stitch. When I get to the end, I'm going to raise up my needle, and with my thick decorative threads, I don't like to use my onboard trimmer just because that blade might not catch that thicker thread. So I'm just going to raise up my presser foot and use my blade on the side or my scissors. And so what you end up with is a really beautiful thick decorative stitch that is actually the same exact stitch that we did here, just with the decorative thread in our needle. Okay, so today we have looked at a number of things you can do with decorative threads on sewing machines and sergers. And so if you want to come in closer here, just to review, we have got our rolled hem on our serger, our decorative cording on our sewing machine, our decorative threads in the top stitch needle on our sewing machine, and our amazing wiper stitches on our applaud. So what I want to do today is, of course, give something away to help make these sorts of projects easier for you at home. And so what I have chosen for you, and I hope you like it, is this wonderful box of eleganza thread. This will get you going on so many of these techniques. It is a beautiful rainbow of colors. And so you guys know what to do. If you like, share, or comment on this video,
oh no, you gotta do the thing.
Oh, you're gonna make me do it? Okay, scoot back then.
Okay.
In honor of Jan, if you like, share, or comment, I had to think through what they were, by Thursday at 5, I think, you will be entered to win this wonderful box of 12 spools of eleganza thread, retail value of $31.99. If you are not our lucky winner, we would still like you to enjoy a discount. So all of our Wonderfil threads will be 25% off until the next new at 2. And the cording foot will also be 25% off. Any of the cording feet, 5 cord or 3. So remember, we like, share, or comment, and that way you might win. Even if you don't win, you can still get a sweet deal. A couple of other things I wanted to remind you of as we barrel through September is that the next Quilting with the Queen is actually at all of our locations tomorrow, Wednesday, September 25th at 10 a.m. This is either at any one of our store locations or from the comfort of your home. So be on the lookout if you've signed up for this for the link to join us for that, or come on in. If you have not signed up and you would like to learn more about Pro Stitcher from the expert Denise Schober, then please call any of our locations to sign up. The individual classes are still available to pay for on their own. We also have coming up in October, of course we had our tech party for September, but in October we have our next regular club. We will of course mention this to you again before it, but it's going to be October the 17th at 1 p.m. or October the 19th at 10 a.m. And again, that is at all BSON locations. We're located in Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Muskogee, Fayetteville, Springfield, and Humble. And of course, we're online at bson.com. So please come see us any time of day or night if you're on the internet. And we would love to see you and help you learn and do more with sewing. And thank you for joining us for New at 2. Everybody give a great thanks to Sarah for being willing to film this week.
Woohoo!
And we will see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.